Do you have an effective e-commerce strategy? Do you allocate your e-commerce budget effectively? And are you getting the best return on investment on your budget? In today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about the stages, the mindset that you need to have to be able to create an effective e-commerce strategy. I'm going to walk you through how to allocate budget for different stages of your customer funnel. And I'm going to show you tips that you can implement straight away and increase revenue, sales, and profit. There are different types of e-commerce store. All e-commerce stores are not created the same. You have e-commerce stores that has a physical location. These are like people that have a store location and then they have an online presence. And then you have e-commerce stores that are just direct to customers only, direct to consumers. They do not have any partners or anything. It's just the website only. And then you have e-commerce stores that work with retailers, that work with wholesalers and different channels. So they have a direct consumer store and they have other outlets where you can also get their products. And then you have e-commerce stores that also sell on Amazon and different platforms as well. So the e-commerce marketing strategy will be different for all this type of website. But one thing will be consistent, the thinking of how you create that e-commerce marketing strategy and how you allocate the budget will be the same. Let's start by looking at e-commerce marketing stages. What do I mean by stages? First, it's quite important to understand the personas of your customer. And for an e-commerce store, you're not going to have just one persona. You're going to have multiple persona. You have a different persona for your high value customers, the one that spend quite a chunk of money. It might be for just one purchase. It might be repeat purchase. You have these different buckets of personas, and how you allocate budget to different communication channels, to different tactics will impact on the return on investment you get on each money you spend on those customers. I mentioned earlier the importance of thinking about e-commerce strategies from the stages of the customer journey. This will help you understand how to segment your communication, how to segment your budget allocation. But before you think about budget allocation, let's first start by understanding demand creation. What is demand creation? Demand creation is simply when you focus on creating awareness about your brand. While you're creating that awareness about your brand, you also want to understand the customer's problem. Your customer is buying a product from you because they have a problem and they believe your product is going to solve their problem. The problem that I see with some e-commerce store is they just focus on customers that are with their competitors. They do not think outside of the box. If you look at some markets, you have people that have a problem that your product solves, but they're not aware of that problem. If they're not aware of the problem, they're not going to buy your product. If you keep pushing your product to them without connecting their problem and your product as a solution, then you're not going to get a sale. So to create an effective e-commerce marketing strategy, you need to think about your customer persona, understanding those different personas and how they understand their problem and the marketing angle that you need to communicate with them to link your product and their problem. That is a win. So the question for you then is, how much should you allocate to demand creation? I see a lot of organizations just focus on demand generation. Demand generation is a situation where people already know they have a problem and they already starting to search for the product to solve that problem. In that instances, they're more open to different options. So you need to be able to capture those customers and again, link your product as a solution for their problem. Once they then understand that your product has a solution for their problem, then they're ready to buy. Your e-commerce marketing strategy, although it's e-commerce, you need to embrace that open mindset that if it's possible that the customer wishes to convert in a physical location, do not force the customer to convert on the website. This is a problem that I see on e-commerce websites where you feel you can control how the customer journeys. Customers will make decisions based on what is best for them. So you need to be able to optimize your websites that when they land on it, they either convert there or they go to a physical location. Or in the brand awareness stage where you've created demand, if you've done a good job at that stage by allocating the right budget and using the right channel, if you have retail partners and wholesalers, they will still convert, even if they do not convert on your website. So this is where you need to collaborate with your partners and understand how do you allocate budget across the board for demand creation and demand generation. So after your customers purchase from you, then you need to start thinking, what do we do strategically for post-purchase? After people has bought, how do we build trust? How do we turn first-time buyers into repeat customers? These are the questions that you need to think about, and these are the mindsets that you need to have to be able to create and implement an effective e-commerce marketing strategy. And once you've had a customer that has bought from you the first time, they bought from you the second time, how do you turn them into loyal customers? Customers nowadays are fickle. They are only loyal to the cheapest and the best quality. So if they can get a discount from a competitor that has the same quality of your product, even if you think they're loyal to you, they're going to go to your competitors. So you need to balance how you strategically create a community of loyal customers. Your product needs to do more of the marketing. A lot of organizations would think marketing can solve a product problem, but it's the opposite. When you have a bad product and you sell a bad product through your e-commerce store, it's going to cost you more problem than you imagine because it's going to increase your cost per acquisition because people are going to go online and leave bad reviews for you. The question for you is, what is your strategy to combat a situation where you have negative reviews increasing? What do you do? What is your strategy for that? The next step is, how do you allocate budget? What percentage of budget should you allocate to demand creation? Do you go to work with micro influencers or do you go with the large influencers? There are pros and cons to both. Smart e-commerce store focuses on micro influencers that have more reach and more engagement with that little bucket of people they have. You need to think about how wide can you create that awareness about your product and linking it to the pain point. What I'm trying to say here is you need to look at channels such as YouTube. You need to look at channels like TikTok, Instagram, and Pinterest. You need to have channels that will have the broadest reach. What you're trying to achieve here is to create an awareness of the problem that the customer have and then link that in a subtle way to your product. And then you also need to look at demand creation side of things. With demand creation, you need to think about the long term and the short term. Now you need to start thinking, how much of your budget should you allocate to paid advertising, Google ads, social media ads, and all other ads that is paid? And how much should you allocate to organic? This question will require you to understand the stage of growth that you are. If you're just starting up, that people don't understand your brand, it's very, very easy to be tempted to just pour all your budget on Google Ad, which is good if you're getting the right return in terms of return on your ad spend. But for the long term, you need to also understand that if that Google Ad is switched off, you will not get any sale whatsoever. So it's dangerous to rely heavily on just one channel. Look, an effective e-commerce marketing strategy will make you think about the long term and the short term. The short term, Google Ads, quick wins. For the long term, you then start thinking, how much do you allocate to search engine optimization and organic traffic and organic content? I see a lot of e-commerce store ignore organic because they believe that it's not important, because they believe they cannot get instant sale. That's because they're thinking from a short-term perspective. From a long-term perspective, you need to understand that people that do not understand or know your brand will require multiple visits, multiple engagements with different channels and different communication tactics you're using before they convert. If they come to your website through Google Ads, if they keep coming back through different Google Ads advertising, that is expensive. But a smart e-commerce store owner will understand that for the long term, you need to start allocating budget and building your organic reach, investing in SEO, investing in organic traffic to make sure that those channels, like even email, like SMS, you're using them as a demand creation channel. You're not focusing exclusively on one channel. And another thing you need to look at when you're allocating budget to have an effective e-commerce marketing strategy is to allocate budget for conversion rate optimization. It's easy for you to have a frictionless e-commerce store, but if you refuse to invest in the user experience of your website and invest in conversion rate optimization, then you're bound to be getting traffic from paid advertising, and those traffic will not convert, and you're inevitably losing money. The reason why is because you're tempted to think, oh, once I create an e-commerce store and it's created really, really good, then that's done. Then I can just focus on SEO and getting customers to the store and converting. But the problem is customer behavior changes. The trend of website design and layout, all this thing changes from time to time. So if you have a stale website, there's a high likelihood that that website's conversion will decline. So it's important to create a frictionless e-commerce store from a landing page and a checkout perspective. Then let's look at the post-purchase. How do you build trust? How do you invest your e-commerce budget to help you retain those customers that you've gotten? You've gotten their first purchase. What channel, what tactic do you invest in to make them come back? Email is a very good approach. Post-purchase stage. How do you allocate budget to customers that have bought from you? How do you get them back to your website? How do you get them back to your store? When I say allocate budget, it doesn't mean you have to spend as much money as you spend on paid advertising. With retention, your cost gets lower. What I'm trying to say is the cost to acquire a new customer is higher. The cost to retain them and encourage them for repeat purchase is significantly lower, but it needs an investment. I see a lot of e-commerce store focus heavily on top of the funnel where the Google ads and the acquisition comes in and ignore the post-purchase experience. That is because once they buy from you, you do not do enough to get them back. You can increase the customer lifetime value by optimizing and investing in your post-purchase email flow. The next thing is then the loyalty. Customers are not loyal, they're fickle. So if you assume that a customer is going to be loyal to you, you need to make sure that your product is of high quality. Customers are only loyal to what favors them. They're only loyal to what benefits they can get. So if your products satisfy their problem to the fullest, then they're going to be loyal to you. How much budget should you allocate to loyalty? You need to understand that customers are not loyal. They're only loyal to what benefits them. What I'm trying to say is they will only appreciate the experience a good product gives to them. So if you're selling a good product, then rest assured that there's a high likelihood that the experiences they get from that product, the satisfaction they get from that product, would encourage them to spread the word about your product. If you go to a fancy restaurant or somewhere and you had a very good meal, a very good experience, that you really, really enjoyed yourself, the company doesn't necessarily need to pay you or incentivize you as much. You will tell friends about it. If, for example, I bought a shoe that was very, very comfortable a few months ago, and I kept telling people about the brand because I got extreme satisfaction from the comfort that the shoe provided me. This is the importance of your product quality. If you have to invest more to make your product better, that would indirectly also help with the repeat purchase and that brand loyalty and that customer loyalty, as well as word of mouth marketing. If you make the mistake of getting customers in and selling them a bad product, that would increase your marketing budget and that would eat into your profit. And that will even cause you problem. The reason why is because those customers that have bought your product, they will feel like you swindled them. They will feel that you twisted their arms to make them buy. And the bad experience they have about that product will make them go online and post very negative reviews. And they will even tell their friends and their circle about the bad experience they had from your product. So what I'm trying to say is marketing cannot solve a product problem. You need to make sure that whatever product you're selling on your e-commerce store is of top quality. I once worked with a global organization and I was looking at the competitor and I looked at the competitor reviews and I saw that, wow, these competitors have a really bad product. And the client I was working with at the time didn't really feel the need. They didn't even feel threatened by the competitor because their product was top quality and the competitors were just digging their own grave. Again, you need to make sure that you're not just focusing on investing the bulk of your e-commerce budget on just marketing. If you have any influence or any input in the quality of the product that you sell, it's important that you make sure that it is best in class. So what are the action steps when you're looking to implementing an effective e-commerce marketing strategy? It comes down to the activities. It comes down to how you execute. The first thing you need to look at is your website. How much have you invested in your website? Have you invested to improving the website user experience? Have you optimized the pages and the checkout flow? Have you used personalization to improve the customer experience on your website? The problem with e-commerce websites is that mindset of a set it and forget it. Organizations will create an e-commerce store and will not evolve that e-commerce store to the changing behaviors and changing expectation of users. They will not look at the website experience on mobile. They will focus heavily on tactics. When you focus on tactics like just paid ads, don't get me wrong, paid ads is good. But if you ignore that website experience, then your e-commerce marketing strategy is faulty. If you're not optimizing your checkout funnel, and this is called a test and learn mindset. I mentioned earlier on about the importance of investing in website optimization and importance in investing in UX. If you ignore this and do not allocate budget to conversion rate optimization, to website UX on a consistent basis, you're bound to have problems with your profit. Large multinational e-commerce stores that I've worked in have a team, a dedicated team of website UX experts, conversion rate optimization experts. They have a dedicated team of people that personalize the website. So if you're a small e-commerce store, the only way you can learn from the best in class organizations that I've worked with is to make sure that you allocate a certain budget of your e-commerce marketing budget to your website's improvement on a continuous basis. Another strategy that you need to focus on to increase the effectiveness of your e-commerce marketing strategy is making sure that you align your paid advertising with your website. I've worked in organizations where the website is just ignored totally. People start focusing on metrics in Google Ads and they forget the fact that acquisition channels send traffic to those landing pages and there's always a disconnect. The call to action sometimes doesn't really align with the landing page, and in some instances you have a lot of keywords sending traffic to just a single landing page. If you do not optimize your Google Ads to align with your website landing pages, your product pages, align them and also use remarketing to bring people back, people that have not converted, use remarketing to bring them back, then your e-commerce marketing strategy is not working. I mentioned the importance of investing in organic. The reason why is because for people that are in demand generation phase, people that are just in the bucket of awareness, they do not need to be coming to your website through Google Ads and paid advertising all the time. You need to make sure that you've optimized your e-commerce store for informational keywords. Those informational keywords don't necessarily need to be invested in your Google Ads, except if you see a high conversion from those keywords. You need to be able to balance your Google Ads and your organic traffic. You also need to make sure that you optimize your high converting pages. The pages like your product pages, you need to make sure that you do not just rely only on Google Ads and paid advertising to get people to high converting pages. You also need to make sure that you invest in the organic part of your e-commerce to make sure that while your Google Ads is ranking high and you're getting your on page one, number one for Google, your organic pages, your product pages, those important pages are also ranking in the number one spot. So if people do not click on the paid advertising, they will click on the organic advertising. Another important thing you need to think about when implementing an effective e-commerce strategy is to make sure that you have synergy and alignment between your conversion rate optimization and your email marketing. This is important because when people land on your e-commerce store, they land on your product page, they land on your homepage, they're within your checkout flow. All these pages, once they leave, you need to then re-invite them back, bring them back through cart abandonment email. The problem with e-commerce store is the email marketing is not integrated with conversion optimization. Website optimization is important because the email is also a duplicate of your website. What I mean by this is when someone does not complete a purchase, you need to send them email sequence that are conversion rate optimized. The look and feel, the design and the layout and the content on those emails needs to have that emotional trigger, needs to have all those conversion rate optimization best practices. And in most instances, you also need to A/B test those emails to make sure that your cart abandonment email is actually converting. The beauty of email is that it has the highest return on investment. A lot of websites implement this. Once you land, you see a discount offer and they try to capture your email. That is an effective e-commerce strategy. Some people overdo it. They overplay their hands by just pushing it on people's faces like 2 seconds when they land on the website. And that becomes a negative because it affects the quality of the website experience if you push that really, really fast. It's important to A/B test when they see that email pop up to get their email at the beginning when they land on your website. You also need to look at your retention tactic. I mentioned the importance of using email to capture people that drop out from the checkout. It's also important to use email and SEO to make sure that people that have bought from you, you use it to bring them back. What I mean is after someone buys something, you need to give them enough information about the product, how to use the product, after sale care. You need to make sure that your email sequence gives them the information. You have information on your help center that tells them about the products, care, and how to use the product and all that. But you do not just expect them to come back to your website to consume that information because that is another effort on their part to search for that information. So what you can do with your email is to make sure that you're nudging them. Those emails will start with giving them that after sale care. And that same email you can then use to also encourage repeat purchase. Encouraging repeat purchase will only happen if you have your email marketing team collaborating in synergy with your conversion rate optimization team. My name is Femi Olajiga. In the next episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about SEO strategy. I'm going to walk you through the things that you need to understand about SEO. SEO is not difficult, and SEO should not just be about you doing what Google wants. It's about doing what the customer wants. I'm going to show you how SEO has evolved over the years and things that you need to focus on. If you're new to the podcast, subscribe. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow, share, like, do all the good stuff. And again, I'm available for consulting if you need help with implementing conversion rate optimization, improving the quality of your email campaign, and making sure that you have a holistic, effective e-commerce marketing strategy. Connect with me and look out for the next episode of the podcast, SEO Strategies. Thank you.
If you've got a real-life question, challenge, or scenario that you would like covered, Femi can cover it in the future episodes of the podcast. Just drop him a message on LinkedIn. Femi is also available for one-to-one coaching and consultancy services as well. So head over to LinkedIn, connect with him, and send in your message.